Absolutely. So we're going to get in towards Champion Select. Let's get this game underway, ladies and gentlemen. Game 2 of the European LCS, the 2014 Spring Split. Picks and bans starting off immediately. Lee Sin banned away from Shook.
Elise is something I'm expecting to feature, if not a ban, as a very high priority for a pick here. I think Amazing and Shook like to play Elise, so I'm anticipating seeing that come through. And then, of course, the usual support bans, the Annie, Leona, Thresh, also would not surprise me when you consider the caliber of Unlimited as well as Nif.
Yeah, Castellin is almost a given these days. He's going to get banned out regardless. Annie also taken away. Just saw that how well that worked out for Yellowstone in the last match, so no surprise there. Kha'Zix being taken away. Don't want to let Kaltard on that. Kaltard, he's had a number of champions. He's actually a player that's played in the LCS before. He was here with the Copenhagen Wolves before in their first iteration, of course, with Newcaster Deficio, who you'll be seeing later on, but he's going to know all about that one. But as it is, Yasuo once again banned out. No surprises here. This is a champion that's been so strong coming into this.
I'm really expecting Yasuo to be 100% banned this, at least on day one. I don't think anyone's going to let him slide through. The one thing I do want to talk about in the mid lane, though, is a few more champions available. Riven is still there if we want to see them being picked. Froggen has confided in me his secret counter to a Ziggs pick. And I don't want to reveal it because, again, it is something in confidence, but if we do see Ziggs being locked in, it is something that Froggen has prepared something special for in reply.
Well, it's been banned out, so that's already been removed. And it does mean that Elise does get through and was instantly first pick there. So I expect that's going to be for Amazing.
Definitely. There's almost no doubt in my mind. That is as important as getting it for Amazing, who likes to play early ganking junglers, as much as it is denying it from Shook. Shook played Elise against Dignitas, and it was terrifying. He managed to pick up First Blood in actually both of the maps, if memory serves, in the mid lane with Froggen against Skara in the very first game on the big stage. So a nice pickup there for the Copenhagen Wolves.
Well, we talked about how the 2014 patch is working out, certainly the 3.15 for the tanky meta. And well, Wicked, he's one player that knows how to play those tanky champions. Renekton being locked in there, and Caitlyn for Tabs, a champion we saw constantly on Tabs throughout the summer.
Yeah, very comfortable pick here for Wicked. It is a tank he's played many, many times. It fits in the meta. I maybe would have preferred to have seen a Shyvana. I think it would have been stronger, but knowing Wicked, he's a little bit stubborn when it comes to his pick, so he's playing something he's comfortable with. The Caitlyn pick is also smart because it's a very long range. It's safe, you just sit on the outskirts, and as long as the rest of your team zones for you, you'll do well.
Well, there is the Lucian Shyvana. Froggen just toying with the crowd's hearts, I feel, because Anivia is being hovered over, but I don't feel it's going to get locked in. In fact, I don't expect to see mid lane get locked in here at all.
I don't think so either. The fact that you have the counter pick available for you means that most likely you're going to move to another option. It does look like they're toying with a few others, but for Shook, an aggressive in-your-face jungler, somebody like a Vi, like a Xin Zhao, those types of champions, you know, Lee Sin's already been banned and Lee is taken away. Those would be the high priority picks that I'm expecting to see from him.
Of course, Nif being the new support on Alliance as well, coming over. He played for SK Gaming throughout the promotion, helped them, honestly carried them, I would say. Really set up a lot of those ganks, but that was on Leona, if you remember rightly. So I'm not surprised we're not going to be heading towards that. Instead, he's looking towards a Thresh, maybe.
I'm a little disappointed we haven't seen the Leona just yet. I think the Leona-Vi synergy is so strong because once Leona locks, Vi locks a target down, Leona just makes it impossible for anybody else to help. Thresh can also work, but you need to make sure it's at the right place. There can't be minions, there can't be champions to block death sentence. But what Thresh does also give you in lane is a little bit more safety. You can set up those Lantern Vi ganks, which is very, very powerful, and I would expect to see that happen. Shook likes to roam, he likes to gank a lot.
Well, final two picks coming for Copenhagen Wolves. Who will the mid laner be? What will Froggen try to counter it with? That's what we're going to be seeing here, of course. The other pick would be in the support role, which I'm trying to think what options they're going to go with here. It could be a Lulu, could be a Sona as well. We've seen that coming out up against Threshers.
So the one thing I want to see from this mid laner now is we're most likely going to see like a pick like an Orianna. It would have to be a fairly safe pick. You don't necessarily want to run the risk of being hard countered. But the Lulu is something that I know Deficio is actually very excited about. He's an avid Lulu player, and we talked about the changes in 3.15 and how Lulu's got some strengthening buffs is the words I'm looking for, and the very key power is whatever Vi dives onto, you can throw Wild Growth on. Gives them extra chance to survive, and it makes it very clear, hey, Alliance want to kill that guy, so you throw Intervention as well. I like the pick from Copenhagen Wolves. It's very reactionary and gives them strengths against what Alliance are looking to do.
I'm interested to see what Froggen is potentially countering this Kayle. We've seen Kayle being incredible in the Battle of the Atlantic. We saw it throughout the promotion as well, just absolutely blowing people up in that Battle of the Atlantic. That was Salivar, of course. Could it be Gragas? Kind of a standard pick as well for him, but it is a good counter. It does clear the waves so quickly.
That's one of the biggest things. Gragas' early game, pre-6, is going to make Kale's life very difficult. Kale needs some of those levels, gets that Righteous Fury and attack speed up to clear the waves. So Froggen should be able to grasp control of that lane if he locks in this Gragas. The one thing that is scary is that the more this Kale scales, the easier it's going to be to shut down Gragas and Caitlyn, who are actually pretty squishy champions overall. So there's a lot of pressure on Froggen, even more so that this is his team, to perform well and not get caught out by Kautar's Kale.
So here we go. The teams are locked in for the first time. The Copenhagen Wolves, as their current form, I should say. It's not the first time because they've been here before, of course, during the spring of 2013. Very different team, though, although same mid laner before the second coming of Christ.
Never won a game in the
managed
LCS.
to get into the game. But Alliance, it is a new lineup behind Froggen and Wicked. Will it work out for them? Are we seeing anything in the synergy of these two teams that would give them tip the edge?
I actually feel like both of these teams are very good. They've got very good engage potential. You've got Cocoons, you've got Shyvana that can dive in, that can, throw a wild growth on top of an already tanky dragon form Shyvana. It's not as clear cut though as a Vi Assault and Battery. So I think Alliance have got a slight lead when it comes to the initiation, but both teams have got the ability to counter engage. Shyvana can use her ult defensively, Kale defensively, Lulu defensively. So you've got teams that can do both tricks well. And as long as Copenhagen Wolves don't get jumped on by Vi too much, it's going to come down to individual skill and team fights.
And with all that defensive work, I hope there's going to be some attacking, let's face it. But before we get the match underway, let's see who you guys at home think will be winning this one. Checking out the lollysports.com vote, 79% of you have voted for Alliance. I'm not too surprised by this one.
I don't think anybody's too surprised. I think Copenhagen Wolves, yes, they had a phenomenal amateur series and challenger series turnout throughout last year, but now this is their first really big exposure on the big stage. And for a lot of fans watching, this may be the first time they've ever seen the Wolves. So we'll have to see how they do against the European super team.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to get underway. Copenhagen Wolves up against Alliance. Game 2 of the European 2014 Spring Split. Who will make it through? That's the question. Alliance, of course, as their new team coming into this one, formerly Evil Geniuses, they split apart. We saw Snoopy, Crepo, and Yellow Pete all heading off to the North American LCS, managing to get their way into there. Meanwhile, Copenhagen Wolves, of course, will be playing as the blue team. And no surprise, when there's a team that's got Froggen and Wicked involved, we get a pause.
Yeah, it's Froggen's fault. I'm just laying it down. Actually, no. It is Nif that has quickly disconnected, so we'll see how rapidly they can get themselves back into this game. But I think tension is very high, and I also expect this game to have a fairly slow start. Saying that, Gambit invaded it through 2.5 minutes, and it backfired. But, the early level 1 deep wards, it's something we haven't seen in a long time, and I'm not expecting to see it right now.
Yeah, we're just waiting for Nif to restart his game, which is what he's doing, which is why you can see a big grin on his face and a thumbs up as he seems happy with how things are working. So hopefully this game will get underway in a moment. Where do we see the strengths in these two teams? Where do we see it? Like early game, late game, mid game? Who's going to be aiming for what? Who's going to be going aggressive early on?
Well, Alliance definitely have an early to mid game power spike. Once Renekton, Vi, and Gragas hit around the level 10, level 11 point and start having that very high burst from Gragas as well as the initiation potential of Vi, I think that's when we're most likely going to see Alliance starting to roam and get those objectives, much like Fnatic did. Once the game starts going further and Kale scales even more to that insta-give potential, that's when I think Copenhagen Wolves can start to strike back. So the key for me is for Copenhagen Wolves not falling behind the sort of 12 to 25 minute mark.
And of course, let's not forget that Fnatic are going to be up against Alliance. They're going to be taking notes on this one. What do we make of game 1 between Fnatic and Gambit? Because that was a lot more one-sided than we were expected.
It caught me by surprise. I will not be afraid to say that I expect the Gambit to win that game based on what we've been seeing in the postseason. And I think Fnatic, you heard Pekka saying they prepared for it. They prepared for the individual matchup. And when they prepare for a matchup, they appear to play very well.
Well, if you want to check it out, if you missed it, get over to lollysports.com. It will be up on available on VOD very shortly. Meanwhile, we are into Game 2. Copenhagen Wolves as the blue team. You can see Coutard, his second return into the LCS. Let's see if it's a bit more successful, because unfortunately for him, he did not win a game the first time he was here. Of course, they are up against the All-Stars, almost the Alliance team. Will they be able to live up to the hype that has been created around this super team?
Well, this is their very first game in the LCS. They definitely delivered at the Battle of the Atlantic. And once again, as we're seeing, a very defensive posture from both of these teams, covering all of the entrances to their jungles. We're seeing the trinkets, the ward trinkets all the way down the list. No sweeping lenses from either of the teams. The only one that was different in the previous game was, of course, Edward starting with that on his Thresh. And it doesn't look like any team is setting up either for a 2v1 or for an invade just yet. So we're going to see those head-to-head matchups.
Yeah, very static gameplay from these teams, and almost back into full-on Season 1 style of all standard play. We'll see whether Renekton is going to help out. Looks like he's going to be helping Shook out in the jungle. Winnitkid will be coming down there, help out on that red buff. Of course, we're seeing Amazing and Coutard over at the blue buff. It is going to be Youngbuck helping him out on that blue, and the mid laners do return. So, standard starts from both teams. Let's see who manages to create the first advantage.
At this point in time, I think that the early game poke that Lulu is going to offer, thanks to that little pick, so all the additional damage is going to help out, especially because the early game poke of that piercing light from Lucian is actually going to be superior to Caitlyn's Piltover Peacemaker. So early levels for Forgiven and Limited, we'll see if they can take advantage. They've got a decent CS lead, and they've forced Tabs and Nif back.
Yeah, early trades seem to go heavily in favor of them, and Alliance forced back already on towards their tower. We do see the first kill, CS going down for Tabs. He's had to use his heal pot already early on as well, so that's a bad start for the Alliance bottom lane. Meanwhile, at the top lane here, we do see Wicked and Youngbuck trading places, trying to just jump around from each other, but it is safe play in the early first few minutes.
Yeah, nothing too exciting right now, and I think, you know, the trades between both Youngbuck and Wicked is eventually going to work out in Wicked's favor. He's got an inherent ability to lifesteal back. He's got that Cull the Meek, so any poke that Youngbuck does manage to get down is not going to last as long as if it's, you know, on his own champion. As it stands right now, though, it's just a very, very slow start for these two teams. And advantage in the mid lane is sitting with Coutard, using Kale's Righteous Fury and that sort of range poke to keep Froggen on the back foot.
Yeah, it's got a good CS advantage already building up here. You can see it's a 10 CS advantage almost in there already, but Froggen, of course, the CS master, picking up the 300 CS in 23 minutes on Karthus back in Season 2 World Finals, but right now he's on Gragas, and he's being forced onto tower by Coutard.
Yeah, definitely, you know, on the back foot. We've seen those last couple barrels actually haven't given him any sort of CS advantages, and its early trades are actually going in favor of the Wolves here, with the exception of the top lane. And we'll have to see how Froggen bounces back from this. It is only 7 CS, which he'll make up for in this exact wave, thanks to a very early back by Coutard. And I like this decision to pick up boots in the wards, because he knows Shook likes to gank. We talked about how he likes to help out Froggen, especially once Vi gets closer to 6. And those boots are going to allow him to avoid any damage from Gragas's barrels.
Well, speaking of early ganks, we do see at the top lane Amazing coming around the backside. Meanwhile, it's the bottom we're looking around. Flash from there is going to miss out. Renekton having to go the opposite way around there. Wicked having to use that flash early on, so Amazing forcing that summon to spell out.
It's not over yet. Now Shook's going to try and do a reply here onto Forgiven Unlimited, but his AD carry and support Tabs and Nif are low on HP, so they need to pick a perfect engage. Here comes Shook with his double buff.
Nif's going in there, gets the Flay on Unlimited. That's the target they need to go for, but he's already flashed away. Flash comes back out from Shook as well. The Ignite is burning. Is there going to be enough damage? Tries to pull in Tabs. Tabs is going to try for the Pilt over the shot. The 90 caliber net. Execution. Unbelievable.
Brilliant play. It's not over. It's now Wicked's in trouble.
Wicked's in trouble in the top lane. He's going to go down. Who will pick up that kill? It's going to be Youngbuck with the burnout.
Tabs was brilliant there. He first got pulled in by the Lantern, then used his incredibly high mechanical skill to land the very quick 90 caliber net plus Piltover Peacemaker. If you fire them quickly enough, they shoot at the same time from your original position while you back away. You do see now Froggen getting ready in this mid lane against Kautar, and he's gone in on Cal.
He's going in there. Kautar's taking low. The Ignite's already been used out. Frog and Ho gets flashed away from that final barrel. That would have been the final hit. Shook coming in, not going to land the kill.
No, there's no flasher for Shook either, nor does he have his red buff, if I noticed that correctly. Kautar sticking around, and it looks like they're going in.
Looks like he's going in. Kautar should just be able to exit straight away. Stage right. He does have the help of Amazing also coming around that jungle.
Well, we'll see how Amazing sticks around. One of the best tower dives is Elise, because of course you can just reset that aggro with the repel. Right now there's a minion wave that's going to get